Mabuhay Manila, this is Aishadel from ManilaShaker.com. The wave for phones in 2021 is that it will be a 5G era from lower mid-rangers up to flagships. Many of us will surely be eyeing cheaper 5G phones with value-wise specs. But is this Moto G 5G Plus will bring not just 5G but the overall value? Let's find out. The Motorola Moto G 5G Plus is a well-thought-of design. The back has a minimal design with a Motorola logo in the middle. They hid the manufacturer text and the recyclable logo at the bottom part of the phone. It is printed below and the back is glossy, but it is still in a polycarbonate plastic, but under the layer, when hit by the light, it has a cool colorful pattern. The fingerprint scanner and the volume rocker, as well as the dedicated Google Assistant button, are all the way to the top side of the device. I couldn't reach the volume rocker if I am holding it with one hand, and that is because the screen is so tall. It boasts a large 6.7-inch IPS LCD, and the screen's ratio is 20:9 cinematic. That is why people with small hands will having difficulty when pressing the physical buttons. The upside is it has a large display with 90Hz refresh rate and HDR10, so watching movies and browsing are very pleasing and smooth. The display's color also has punch and deeper blacks. The camera quality and features of the Moto G 5G Plus is no joke. The rear consists of 48MP f1.7 main cam, 8MP ultra-wide, 5MP macro with autofocus, and a 2MP depth sensor. Looking at the main cam, it uses pixel binning technology to save space and to capture bright images with lesser noise. But if we look closely at these images, it has deeper blacks, it is a little less exposed, and the colors don't have that punchy look. The upside is when you start to capture close-up subjects. When shooting close-up subjects, Moto G 5G Plus now produce balance and great color accuracy. It is better at shooting near objects rather than landscapes, but things are different in nighttime shots. Photos outputs bright and less noisy images with punchier colors. It is sharp in night mode and the highlights and shadows are balanced. On ultra-wide, photos are quite the same as the main cam, but it has less dynamic range and it has deeper blacks. However, it has good color accuracy and the lens distortion is fine. There are some color fringing and flares, but it is not visible all the time. Now on the macro lens, obviously it is not just a gimmick. The macro lens outputs sharp and it is even closer to the subject compared to other competitors that has the same 5MP lens. It has autofocus to nail the sharpness of the subject and it is color accurate as well. These are the photos captured using portrait mode. It has a 2MP depth sensor and it has great accuracy in detecting the subject from its background. The colors are also flattering, it doesn't have a pale-ish look, and it doesn't get oversaturated. Switching to selfie, Moto G 5G Plus outputs good colors and sharpness. However, when there's too much beautification feature, it can wash out the texture of the skin. Subject to background separation is okay and has high accuracy, and it is neat and clean. The blacks are deep though, but not to the point that it will remove the details. The selfie is quite flattering as it doesn't output lens distortion even at the ultra-wide selfie. And speaking of, the 8MP ultra-wide selfie tends to have softer output and the skin tone is quite underwhelming. But it's wide and has portrait mode and it doesn't get overexposed like other competitors. On video recording, it can record video clips up to 4K at 30 frames and 1080p at 60 frames, and also a 1080p clip on the front cam, which has a great balance in the exposure. I love how it doesn't output overblown highlights while giving the right exposure to my face, and the phone can also capture 120 FPS of 1080p slow motion videos on the front and rear cam. For the camera features, this is by far the first smartphone I tested with Pro mode in different lenses including macro, selfie, and ultra-wide. And it can also shoot raw photos in the said lenses, which is quite outstanding. I really like this flexibility in a smartphone as you can produce great contents with just a small companion like the Moto G 5G Plus. Now in the performance section, Moto G 5G Plus is equipped with a Snapdragon 765 with 8GB of RAM and 128GB of internal storage. It runs on the stock Android One on top of the Android 10.0. There's a dedicated Google Assistant button like we said earlier, and although the button is all the way up to the top side of the phone, it is reliable and fast. Navigating through the OS is pretty smooth and stutter-free. And it is 5G, so it is fast and secure. For security, there's a fingerprint scanner and face unlock, which is quite fast and accurate. Now we tested the gaming capability of the Moto G 5G Plus. On PUBG Mobile, it has ultra frames but in smooth and balance only. And in HD, it only has high frames, which is 30 FPS. And playing at HD quality is fine, no frame drops upon landing on the terrain. It is not experiencing any frame drops, and playing at ultra frames is better. It doesn't introduce any lags or stutter. We tried to bump the frames to 60 FPS and 90 FPS using GFX tool to see if it can still handle the smooth gameplay. And surprisingly, it is stutter-free on smooth quality. 60 FPS and 90 FPS does introduce a little hit on the back panel, but it is bearable. However, by playing in high quality, the phone heats up even more at high quality plus unlocked 90 FPS. Now on Call of Duty, all settings are unlocked, which is nice, and playing at maximum settings is totally fine. No frame drops and stutters. It has a gyroscope as well, so using it for extra aim is good and no delays whatsoever. Even playing on Battle Royale mode, the game totally works fine in the Moto G 5G Plus. Now playing these two RTS games, Mobile Legends and Wild Rift, they have no problems, all are running fine. Mobile Legends is in high quality by default and it has HFR mode, so we can play at 60 FPS smoothly, with no frame drops and stutter. Also in Wild Rift, it is smooth with no lags in 60 FPS mode at high definition settings, and it doesn't introduce any stutter and frame drops as well. Now trying games from MiHoYo developers in Honkai Impact 3, now I just noticed that the apps are not in full screen and you need to enable it to the settings menu, which is quite a hassle every time you have new apps installed, but that just needs software optimization for me. And now heading back to the game, the default settings is in medium plus 30 FPS in combat. It introduced little frame drops, especially when we ult, but in playing at 60 frames in combat, the game is smoother and has fewer frame drops, which means that it is more optimized than 30 FPS. If you want to play smoother and less lag, try to lower the settings to the lowest quality. While in Genshin Impact, it is on low quality settings by default, and in the lowest settings, it is still experiencing frame drops, but almost unnoticeable. Playing in high quality is fine even in domains. It's not that smooth, but it can play Genshin Impact with no frustration even there's a lot of visual graphics happening on the scene. But again, it is not 100% stable. Now as for the battery, the 5000 mAh battery is sufficient, and even it has 90Hz and 5G, it has a 7nm chipset which compensates for the power draining specs. And as for charging, for 20 watts fast charging, it took quite a long time, and at this price point, I really think that it is behind what competitors is now equipped with. Overall, Moto G 5G Plus have that premium feel. It has 5G connectivity, it has unique and extraordinary camera features which are hard to find in its price range. And by the way, it is priced 16,995 pesos, and the phone is impressive on its price point. But it is still a smartphone with imperfections. I felt that it is not for all, especially with small hands like me. The vibration feels cheap and it needs some software optimizations. But it has the power to play AAA games and the features are good and reliable. So now that you saw this review, you can now have peace of mind. And that's the Moto G 5G Plus. What are your thoughts about this phone? Is it a bang for the buck device or just another 5G phone in the market? Let us know in the comment section below. That's it. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell icon to be notified on our future content. And also don't forget to visit manilashaker.com for more tech news, reviews, and comparison of the latest device. Once again, this is Aisha Delen. Mabuhay, Manila!